Okay, good evening. Welcome to QuickBooks class. We're about to start learning the concept of inventory. Until now, we were discussing a business of service, which is we have general consulting, bookkeeping, and home care, housekeeping. Not necessarily we do all these services ourselves, but this is what we sell to our customers. And now we're about to go over to inventory. How do we work when we are selling products? So in the email, which I sent in before last class, called chapter 3, there are 3 parts to the inventory. That's the way it's labeled. It could probably be done in 2 classes. And I wrote in big that we should change the date to 5/25. As I explained, this is similar to a course given recently and using those dates with the products. And we wanted to come into the profit and loss period of May. So that's why we're changing the date to 5/25. Where will we change that date? When we start making the first sale. That's what we have to keep in mind, that the invoice date has to be 5/25. So we have here like 5 or 6 different transactions. Once you change the date by the first one, QuickBooks will remember that date until we will tell QuickBooks that we're using a different date. So for starters, as I showed last class, we have to go to the menu to enable inventory tracking. So the way to do that is you go to Edit, that's the top menu bar, and we go to the drop-down Preferences. And in the Preferences, we have a drop-down where it shows jobs and inventory, items and inventory. We're familiar with items. Inventory is a new concept. And if we click on the Company Preferences tab, in that we'll be able to see a checkbox where is purchase orders and inventory, and we are going to make inventory and purchase orders active. Okay. Right now, if you look at the vendors drop down, you only see bills, right? The service, because that's how when we created this type of service, general service file, all you have is bills and paid bills. It's very simple. But now that we're going to go to preferences and we are going to check the inventory box. Now it gives us here, once we do it, it warns you about duplicate purchase order numbers. This is a feature that, if you make a purchase order and you don't want to enter the same thing twice, then you're going to have extra purchase orders for for the same item. You don't have more quantity in your inventory, but you're going to be putting in more bills. You want a warning when you are going to run low. It says lower down, there's the difference between quantity on hand and quantity available. We will discuss that in turn. Right now, we'll just leave the defaults of QuickBooks. So everyone, I'll take a pause a second. You can go to Edit Preferences, Item and Inventory. And in the Item and Inventory, you click on the Company Preferences tab and enable this first box here that you have to check inventory and purchase orders. Okay. So I'm going to click OK. Then it says QuickBooks will close and open the changes preference. Okay, so we have to follow what it does. And all of a sudden, if you go back, just close the windows, you will see now that by vendors, not only you have the bills and paid bills, you also have purchase orders, receive items, and enter bill, receive items, enter bill for received items. So I'm going to take over here a moment to explain what these lines are before we create the inventory items. So a purchase order is when we submit to a company we would like to buy something. So if we want to buy a particular item, it might cost $5 a piece. So we're going to sell it for $15. So we are sending over a purchase order. And later on, when the order is filled, we could convert that purchase order into a bill. One way to do is you receive the items and you enter a bill. So there's two steps involved in here, which QuickBooks streamlines. One is that the company is sending you, let's say, 10 items of this item, which you're paying for $5. So your cost is $5. So you are saying, I received the item and I'm going to enter a bill. So if I ordered 10 of those items and it cost me $5, my bill would be $50. Alternatively, you could just receive the item because maybe the price is fluctuating. You want to get hold of the item, even no matter what it's going to cost, or you dealt with the secretary who wasn't sure. You got the item, and you will adjust the price later. Perhaps the person who receives the item only has knowledge that the item arrived, but you don't want them to know the real cost of the item and go in competition with the company. Whatever the reason would be, you could just receive the item and not put in the bill, which will go to the next line when the person who does have access to this or the information, you're not going to receive the items again. You already received it. Now you're going to enter a bill for the received items. So these three lines, one is receiving the items and enter the bill, so it's at the same time, or you're just receiving the item, or you're entering the bill for the received item. And again, if you want to think in terms of debits and credits, obviously they all have different meanings, right? When you receive an item, so you have a new asset, whatever the item is. The asset is called inventory. That's a debit. Debit assets go with increase with a debit. Now, QuickBooks will do that by itself, but there are times where it's not like a bill. Let's say you have you weren't working on computers. You have a warehouse. You make a manual count, and you see you have 30 of a certain item. So you want to record, start keeping track. You're going to mention that we have 30 of this item, which we're putting in to the company, and there's a bill against it, whether it's a bill from a company because it wasn't paid for yet, or maybe this will be owner's equity. He already owns it, it's paid for it. So we're not increasing the liability, we're raising the value of the company. And we're going to see that actually in step number 3 from tonight, where we notice that we have a certain amount of opening balance. So technically what it's doing is you're debiting the asset for the item, not that we're receiving it from a vendor per se, it's just we're putting it on the books of the company. We have this asset, and the credit will be, in the case of QuickBooks, we're entering a bill, it's going to end up being a liability. In the case of the person putting on stock, which a company has, it's just going to raise members' equity or Reuven's equity. That's the credit of owner's equity. And then there's just receive items, and there's enter bills, which we're not going to discuss right now in the course debits and credits. So according to the step number 1, we already enabled the inventory, so we already accomplished step number 1, the preferences. So now we're going to go to step number 2, which is create an inventory item, TLS, which is Tikkun Lashuas. This is actually the 525 was for Shuas, and we're going to sell it. And if you go now to lists, you're going to see now an item list. And we're going to go into item lists and create new lists. This is how we create new things in the company. Similarly, if you recall from the second class, I think it was, if you would go to the home page, company homepage, you would also have in which section. In the right section, you have items and services. In the right section, so we go into this thing, will be the same idea. So you can access the item list either from items and services in the top right corner, right in the top right corner of homepage, you have items and services, or we could go to the lists and item lists. And we are here, and we go Control N, that's the shortcut key. We're creating a new item. What type of item is this going to be? So obviously this is going to be an inventory part. Okay, it's not, we're not assembling anything, we're having an item. So it says here, inventory parts is for goods you purchase and you track as inventory and resell, as opposed to inventory assembly, which is inventory items that you're going to assemble from other inventories. So that's a little more complex because you're pulling from different parts of your inventory and you are creating a new item for it. So now it's going to be called inventory assembly. So we're starting the inventory part. I'm going to go slowly here because it's very important on this page to enter the information properly. So I'm not going to click OK and save it until I get some feedback either on the raised hands or on the participants Q&A that they got to that step. Okay, I already said we're going to change the date when we make the first invoice. So I wrote change date in bold, that we should be aware of it, but we're going to do that only at step number 4. When Rabbi Cohen is going to buy something, then we're going to put the date for the sales receipt. But we are first at step number 3. Okay, number 2 actually. So we are creating an item, and I wrote that's going to be TLS. Where are we going to put the TLS? So if you look intuitively, similar to when we made the item for a service, it's an item name, and this is a much more interactive screen. It gives me more boxes. Why does it give me more boxes? Because it's not just saying, okay, we put in BK for bookkeeping, and we put the rate at was $30 that we put in then. Right now, besides putting in a name TLS, which you put over here, we are also have to put a description that's going to come up. You have the option on purchase transactions and on sales transactions. That means when I submit a purchase order, it could come up with a description, and then on a sales transaction, when I sell to a customer, it could be another description. Perhaps the different codes that we use when we buy it from the vendor and to the customer, we want it to display differently. So, for example, if I'm going to write Tikkun Leil Shavuos, obviously, if I'm dealing with the vendor, he sells Tikkun Leil Shavuos, but perhaps, for example, when you sell it to a customer, you want to add the words that say MR. So you should know that's, let's say, for Mach or MR or maybe MY or whatever it is. It's for Mach and Yerushalayim, for example. You should know the publishing company, the company buying it for. They don't, have to tell them who they are, but you might want to have it differently, and you'll see how it comes up on the purchase orders and on the sales receipts. So I put a description on purchase as Tikkun Leil Shavuos. I added on over here MY for no good reason, but just to show you that it can be a separate description. Okay, now what is the cost? So let's look at step number 3 first of all, because we already, if we would right now we have TLS, you can't create the item because it doesn't have all the information it needs. Right? If I would go, what happens because okay, you must specify an income account to be associated, because there's actually not only an income account but also a cost of goods account. Because when we have inventory, in this case that we had a Tikkun Leil Shavuos, so when we buy it from the vendor, there is a cost associated with it. But when do we recognize that cost? Not at the time of purchase, because like I said, it's an asset, right? It's not like paper for the copy machine, which we bought it and it's getting used up. We're taking for resale. So it's not yet a recognized cost. Right? Again, when we buy from, in this case, the Tikkun Leil Shavuos, it's going to be, will be, like we said before, we'll be debiting the asset and crediting the liability. So when are you going to recognize it? When we sell it. When it goes out of inventory, the customer takes it, 2 things happen. Number 1, we lose a piece of inventory. At what price do we lose that inventory? At the price of the cost of goods sold. At the price it costs us, which in this case we said is $2. So we're going to put in Tikkun Leil Shavuos at a cost of $2. But what is our sales price? What is our income? Right? Our income is $10. That's what we're saying here. An example that cost us 2 and sales 10. So as we fill out this form over here, we have TLS, it's article Shavuos. We have a cost of $2. We have a sales price of $10. And this is going to go out to the, when we sell it, we're going to recognize cost of goods sold. The income account will be, we have your sales. Let's for right now type the word merchandise. We know that we want to create an account, so we just type it, and if it doesn't exist, or if I type M, meals and entertainment will come here, or equity, anything that has an M. If we type in merchandise, if I want to be able to differentiate between my merchandise sales and my service sales, so right here we have an income account called type merchandise, and it's going to say it's not set up. So we will set it up, right? If it's not there, set up. And we already know the account is income because we are dealing in the income account window, right? So QuickBooks knows that the account type is income. We didn't have to tell it which type, but we're just confirming the name over here and the description, which we'll leave empty for now. And I'm going to press over here. So we're already familiar with creating accounts. We've done this for expense accounts, for liability accounts, for credit card accounts, for bank accounts, for all types of asset accounts. Right now, I'm going to press save and close. Now we have a new account called merchandise account. Okay. And QuickBooks, like we said, it's an inventory asset, right? So these are all different parts of information that we need to know. By the way, you could put in over here, there's a date. You could change the date over here on the front page to 5/25, happens to be 11/25, so we just have to change it to 5. And so I could put // Okay, so we have here now, I'm leaving the screen open, I'm not pressing save, I'm not exiting it yet. What we put in so far, so from step 2, we said we have to create TLS. We got that there. From step 3, we got that the cost is $2. The sales price is $10. You can already infer from here that our markup is $8. So when we sell an item, our sales are going up by $10, right? That's the increase in revenue. We have an expense when we sell it of $2, and we're going to have what's it called? There's another $8 difference, right? So actually what we're doing is what we're doing is, if someone gives us $10, we will get $10. So we'll be debiting undeposited funds. We received $10, we got an asset, we got $10. We would credit inventory for $2 because that's what's going out. And we would have an extra profit of $8. It's actually a little more complicated than that. I don't want to confuse with this. We'll see it in the way QuickBooks does that behind the scenes. But there's one more part saying here we have to add 30 TLS to opening balance, which is by on hand, where it says over here in the center on hand. So QuickBooks is like a calculator. If I'll put in 10 on hand, QuickBooks will right away put it to 20. How does it know that 10 items cost 20? Because we already told it that our cost is $2. So the value of inventory is the value of our cost, not what we want to make from it, right? If we bought 10 TLSs, which cost us $20, even though we want to sell it for $100, it only has that value of $100 once we actually sell it. While it's on hand, the value is only the $2. We have to put 30. So we're going to put a 3, and now it's going to go $60. The first time we create an inventory item, it gives us this on-hand option, and afterwards that field goes away and it's fixed. You cannot change it, right? You could change the reorder points, like when we drop below a certain amount, or the maximum. We don't want to order too much. So you could later on change the reorder amounts and the minimum and the maximum, but the on hand you can only do one time. Okay, I'm going to take a 2 to 3 minute break. Anyone has questions, put it on the Q&A. But let's make sure we have these 4 pieces of information. We have the TLS as the item, the cost $2, and we put the COGS account as cost of goods, fine. The income account as merchandise. The sales price is $10. So, and the on hand at 30, and we actually changed the date here to 5/25. This is the date we put it in. So we already count, if we do this and press OK, we will have already done steps 1, 2, and 3. In parentheses, I put up that the equity goes up by 60. Obviously, if we're debiting the on hand, the inventory at 60, the equity is going up. We will see that later in the balance sheet. I see already 2 questions here. Let's see here. Again, how do we get to this page? So I said we're going to go to lists, the drop-down lists, an item list. Right, we're going to create a new item. So once you go into lists, drop-down list, all you got to do is press Control N, and you will say that the type of item we're creating is an inventory part, not inventory assembly, inventory part. And then it's going to bring up this screen. Okay, and your screen should, when you're done with it, should end up the way it looks right now, as TLS, as $2 as a cost, $10 as a sale, and the cost of goods we left cost of goods sold, but income account we typed in merchandise to differentiate from the other sales, which are a service, and I put in 30 on hand. Total value went by is automatic. It's a computation of the value of the on hand times the cost, and I changed the date to 5/25. Okay, now again, if someone doesn't have the option to add an inventory part, it's because you have to do the step before that, which is go down to edit preferences, right? I gave you the direction, edit / preferences / inventory. That means if you would come into the inventory inside, and you'll choose on the company tab the box to enable inventory. So the question is over here, is this we're selling it, we're buying it and we are selling it. That yes, so the answer to, yeah, when we select income account and type merchandise, it will be income because it's the label is called income account, and that is the sales. It's all in the same window. If you watch the screen, there's the box, sales information and purchase information. So when you purchase it, there's a cost. Okay, like I said, we are entering what our cost is of purchasing, and we're only going to recognize that cost when we actually sell it, because prior to that, it's an inventory. But when we sell it, in the sales information, we need to know our sales price, which is different. And our profit is the difference between 2 and 10. And on hand is what we have. Because before we make our first order, like I explained, could be we're switching from manual to digital, and we looked in our closet or in our storage house, and we saw, oh, we have 30, but you know what? It's before Yom Tov. I want to have 100 in stock. Okay, so before you order 100, you got to count up how much you have, and you put that down. You don't want to have to store it for a whole year. It's not a siddur which you use all the time, and people could buy it. It's a tikkun l'shavuos. They use it for one night, and then you wait till next year. Okay. Okay. So Okay, there is a preferred vendor option. We don't even have the vendors that we're buying them from yet. So only after we create vendors, you could go and create a preferred vendor. I'm not sure what the question is. All the goods will be still line items and merchant and invoices. I'm not sure what that question is. So you'll clarify that, please. No. What I mean, my publishing invoice, we do it all for $60. Now, I wrote the MY, still say stands for Machim Yerushalayim, just that the customer will see it on his bill. You know, we might have 3 types of Tikkun Lashavuos, and you'll have TLS, and they'll be called Tikkun Lashavuos. Obviously, you would have a different item, TLS1, TLS2, or TLS MY, whatever it will be. So you'll have an item called TLS MY, and on his description, will say Tikkun Lashavuos written out. I just put here 2 types so you could see the difference between a purchase order and a sales slip. Obviously, yeah, the profit will be the 240. It's like I get lost with the cheshbonis right now. Right now, I want to just get everyone up to speed on the creating the item. So we're only creating 2 items here. We're creating, actually, the whole part 1 was creating 1 item, and part 2 is creating a second item. We'll get the sub item another time. Okay, what happens if you click save? How do you change on hand? I asked everyone, please don't check. I didn't get out of this. I don't know what people are running ahead. It's complicated how to change the on hand. The simple answer is you got to figure out how to make a proper debit and credit to stick it into inventory. But I can't go off on a tangent right now. Okay, if you didn't change the date, it's not the end of the world, because you might get a few. Well, theoretically, if you're selling the item in May and you only put it on hand in November, you'll get an alert that you don't have it to sell. Okay. Okay. Right now, we're going to stick to the script. So we'll leave the bakery and the cheesecake or people's practical questions and their own businesses, which are confusing. Let's stick with the Tikkun Lashavuos exactly as it says. Okay, so actually I see over here as that's what it was. It was not MY, it was MH. Okay, if you had MY, it's fine. I had here Makar Sfarim, whatever it is. Okay. Fine. So I'm about to click OK. Let me see another couple people if they have. Okay. I'm going to take a leap and I'm going to press OK. The transaction is more than 90 days in the past. Are you sure you want to make this change? Well, if you want to change the date, you get this. Yes, the answer is yes. You can turn off these warnings. QuickBooks usually, if you're ending a transaction 90 days in the past or 30 days in the future, they'll give you, just confirm that you're really 3 days behind in your paperwork. Maybe you made a mistake. So if you're more than 3 days, 30 days behind, or more than 30 days ahead, they remind you and make sure that you want to do it. You can take off the reminder and you'll never see it again. Okay, I'm going to skip the spell check, ignore all, and just close the spell check. And okay, so now we have here an item called Tikkun Lashavus. It's an inventory part. The count is not sales, it's merchandise. There's 30 total in the account. Now on sales order, it keeps track, right? There's we'll see that shortly. The price is $10 in the sale. If you go, let's see further down, that's all you get on the window here. So you have the type of item is a inventory part. There's 30 and on sales order. So we can receive from a customer now, for example, when you'll get create an invoice for a customer and you're going to sell them an item. So QuickBooks will already will reduce the amount that you have in stock. Or in this case, we're doing a sales receipt. Similar to we made the last two entries in the services we had with Ploni Almoni, with Holtzklapper or whatever. We just went straight to sales receipts. We're going to make now a customer create, enter the sales receipt for Rabbi Cohen. So let's divide 4 into 2 parts. Rabbi Cohen buys 10 TLS, and separately he's going to pay his outstanding balance. Okay. So if you would do it the long way, you would create an invoice for Rabbi Cohen for 10 TLS, and then, which is $100 is going to cost him, and then you receive a payment for the 10 TLS and the outstanding balance. Or you could make it in 2 transactions. One thing is you're entering a sales receipt. Enter sales receipt. And it doesn't choose a customer because we're not in the customer center on a particular customer. We are going into the customer section blind. So we have to start typing. We put in R for Rabbi, and you have here Rabbi Cohen. Again, notice that the date is 5/25 because we changed this in the inventory page on hand. If you did not change it yet, so right now, and it still shows 11/25 today's date, you will change the invoice now. Now, again, likely you will get an alert that we don't have this item in stock. Let's see, if I put in TLS, I put in a T, look what comes up on the sales receipt. You see, it's going to show Tikkun Lashavus, MH, I guess for Makaris Farim, or MY if you had it before, whatever it is. You see the difference. You'll see in the next step that when I buy something, it's not going to have the MH at the end because we didn't put it in that description. Now the quantity, here's an interesting box. You click on it, it'll tell you that there's 30 on hand. How many are being used on sales orders? How much are reserved for assembly? Quantity available. So imagine, see, if you had a bunch of 2x4s and you needed to put together a table, which needed 2 of them, you would pull out in your inventory part, have to pull out 2 for assembly, and you have, let's say 10 for sukkah, and you only have 12 on sales orders for sukkahs and 2 for assemblies, and your quantity available for sale will be 18. In this case, we have all 30 available. So we're going to revisit that page after the order. We're going to put in 10, right? QuickBooks already knows that the rate is $10 because anytime you don't put a number, the assumption is that it's 1. I put in 10, it's going to extend it to $100. And Rabbi Cohen, 1471 13th Avenue. He's our 3rd sale, and we will press save and close. So like I said, we broke step 4 to 2 parts. Transaction is more than 90 days in the past. So while I'm here, I might as well show you, if you go to edit, drop down to preferences, Then I'm gonna after this step, I'll have to wait for everyone to check it themselves. Edit preferences, general. No, I'm sorry, not edit accounting. The first one is called accounting, and the company preferences tab. Again, edit preferences, and in the preferences for the first thing called accounting, go into company preferences, and you'll uncheck warn if it's in 90 days in the past, and if it's more than in the 30 days in the future. Right now, I'm checking these two boxes, and we'll press OK. That shouldn't bother us anymore. And I will press save and close. So again, what do we do after we create a TLS? All I did is I create an invoice for not invoice, it's called a sales receipt, right? Custom sales receipt. Where do I do a sales receipt? I go to customers, enter sales receipt for 10 TLS. I'll press save and close, and I will hold my breath a minute. Okay, and notice how it dropped all of a sudden from 30 to 20 because we just sold 10. So you won't have a bunch of people overselling items that don't exist, and maybe to keep the company name that we oversold, we're gonna go buy out for more expensive from another vendor. In this case, we keep track of what we have. Also, when you make an accounting in your warehouse, and you'll see that there's only 18 and not 20, you'll know one of two things happen. Either there's another sale has to be put in that wasn't accounted for, or that someone is removing inventory from your warehouse, and you have to double check your security cameras to see why don't you see in the warehouse what the computer says you should have. So before I go to the second half of number 4, which is we have to receive the money for Rabbi Cohen's outstanding balance. If we go to customers, Rabbi Cohen has a $200 balance. We are going to have to receive that money against his invoice. Or in other words, today we are getting from Rabbi Cohen $300. $100 is new money for the 10 TLS that he's buying. And we're receiving $200 against his accounts receivables. So I'm going to wait another minute before I receive the money. And then again, this is going to be good review how to receive payments, right? In addition to showing open account receivables on a balance sheet, we received part of the money before. Now we're going to receive the rest of the money. We will be reinforcing the skill of how to receive payments against invoices. Questions here. Okay, so if I could perhaps get a little show of hands of people who actually managed to complete creating the item called TLS and the sale of the purchase of Rabbi Cohen for 10. So I know we have at least 6 or 7 people going forward. I see a little more than that. Okay, so again, for people whose balances are not working out from the get-go, the only thing I can recommend is either you stay on after 9:30 or you go review your entries. This is like Sphere Saimer. It's not the 10th night. It's not the 10th night, but it's 10 days. That means we are what we're learning today is built upon what we did before. I can't give 10 classes condensed into one. It's not going to work. So if the balance of Rabbi Cohen, and we tried this a couple of times, everyone should look at the balances, make sure everything ties out. If this doesn't tie out, that means your balance sheet never tied out, your profit and loss didn't tie, maybe your profit and loss probably didn't, but your balance sheet for sure didn't. And you can say we're doing the inventory, and by the way, we are receiving money from the sale, the open account receivable. So I can't stop right now to help you get your account back to 200. But if your account is 200, you go to right-click Rabbi Cohen and on receive payment. Again, if we're in the customer section on Rabbi Cohen, right? You see now he had his original invoice of 600, we received 400. And we just did today, or rather 5/25, that's the date, sales receipt of $100. We're going to right click on his name and receive a payment. And we will just check the invoice. We said before, if you click an invoice, it's going to show, it's automatically put in $200. Now, again, it'll be quite interesting to see that for an invoice dated 11/4, we're receiving $200 dated 5/25. For those of you who are following the dates. So you can, in this case, press T for today. That's a shortcut. It was on the list of shortcuts from before. I don't know if we actually use it, but here's a good way to put it in. Put in T for today. So we're going to keep track of receiving the money for the account receivables as today's date, which makes sense. He bought something for 600 on 11/4. After paying 400, he comes 3 weeks later, just today, and paying the balance. But the Tikkun Lashvua says he bought before, it's a separate receipt. And I will save and close. And what's going to happen? Rabbi Cohen's account is paid off. And we're just left with Mrs. Cook. I didn't pay attention if it was check or cash. I didn't write what Rabbi Cohen did, so we'll assume that it was cash. And right now, what we did is we sold the TLS, right? 10 TLS from the 30 we had on hand, right? We had 30 already in stock, and we sold 10. I showed you, if we go to items and inventory again, we could see lists, item, and you'll be able to see that there's only 20 left in stock. We're getting ready to sell 25 right now, right? In step 6, we want to sell the Gabbai Shemer Shabbos 25, but we don't even have 25. What we're going to do is we're going to purchase from Makaris Farm 50 of them, and then we'll be able to we'll have enough to sell. Obviously, we're going to order 50, so our inventory will go up to 70. We'll sell out 25 and we'll go down to 45. That's what's going to happen, and that's your preview. So step 5 will be, again, to purchase 50 TLS. How do we purchase that? So we are going to take the first option, which we said before in the vendors, to receive items and enter the bill. Okay, we're not just going to put purchase order and the receipt. We'll do it in one go. Receive items and enter bill. We have the Amazon truck just pulled up to our store. They're standing outside. Actually, they're saying they're giving us a special. If you take it off the truck right now, so you don't have to wait for delivery. We're going to type in Mikara Safarim because we don't have such a vendor. If I type M, Ami Magazine is there. Right, Con Edison has an M, doesn't have an M. Staples, Office Depot, they don't have the M. We're going to type in Makar, but what this tells you is that whenever you have, you could type 1 or 2 letters, you don't have to write out the whole vendor's name. It will show up in the dropdown. So Makar HaSafarim, and we're going to quick add him. Notice right now when I press quick add, it's gonna. The assumption is that it's a vendor because we are in the vendor section. In other cases, sometimes if you're entering a bill, they'll ask you if it's to choose that it's a vendor. If it's a customer, they'll know that the name is a customer. But while you're in these windows, vendor, it's a given that it's a vendor because we went into vendor section, receive an item. Okay, I could put in the amount, but let QuickBooks work for us. We are putting in the item called TLS. All I got to put in, right? QuickBooks already knows that our cost would be $2. I don't have to call up Makaris Farm and ask them what's your price, because if it's not $2, take the order back. I have someone who will sell to you for $2. I'm not going to pay more. But when I put in my quantity, right? I go into quantity, it'll still remind me that I have 20 left. So you go, before I put in the order, I'm double checking. I'm putting in the number 50. And my bill, I know, is filled out automatically on the top over here based on my quantity. Again, when I put my item TLS, the description is Tikkun Shavuos. Notice it doesn't have the MH or the MY here on the purchase order because I gave it a different description. So we gave one description that shows up by the customer, another description as we receive it from the vendor. What do we put in here? The number 50. The cost and the extended cost is automatic. We'll leave customer, job, and billable for now. It's beyond the scope of this lesson. Okay, again, I'm going to pause and give everyone a chance to fill out step number 5. Again, for vendors, drop down, receive item, and enter bill. You're going to come up this window. You're going to write Makaris Farim. Oh, once again, the date, 5/25. Again, we're going back and forth. We're going back to 5/25 because this is the week of Shavuos, and the amount due to our vendor is $100 because we put 50 times 20, $2. I'm going to wait a moment and let people fill this in. Again, bill due dates over here is the assumption is it's 10 days, right? So May has 31 days. So therefore it's 6/4. If it'll be then the June, if it'll be 6/25, then the bill due will be 7/5. Again, this is all Again, preferences. We're going to get the customizations either in the week from now or after Hanukkah, depending on how the classes work out over the break. We'll be in touch, beginning of next week. But for now, there's a default of editing transactions 3 months ago, because we assume that you're not more than 3 months behind your paperwork. If you get more than 30 days ahead, there's such a default. Now the default is you have 10 days at least to get the check in the mail. You put in the invoice and you could put it a week later and it'll take 3 days for mailing. So you don't have to, the boss comes in once a week to sign checks. So you could get the invoice on a Friday after the boss left. You get it ready for next Thursday. You'll sign the check. You'll mail it out. It'll be there in time. Not a problem. This environment, everyone's happy to get it even on day number 11. Okay, again, let's remember what our invoices and bills. Invoices is what we make for our customers. Bills is what we get for people to give us stuff, right? You get a bill from Con Edison, you don't get an invoice from Con Edison, right? That's the proper way to do it. They give us an invoice, maybe, but on their end, it's an invoice because they want to get the money. But when we receive it, we enter their invoice as a bill on our end. So in our books, invoices is for customers and bills are for vendors. You might have, in addition to invoices, which is, again, for sales on account, and you have sales receipts. Then you can have also vendors. You can have either enter bills because you're putting in bills, or you just go pay. You could just make a purchase without even, you could pay a bill at the same time without even entering an invoice. But right now I'm going to press save and close. And now let us go back to our inventory. What do we have? We have now 70 in our inventory. Remember, we put in 30, we sold 10, so we went down to 20. We purchased 50 from Makari's farm. Now we have 70. Okay, before we go over to step number 6, we're going to pull up the balance sheet again, just to see what's going on. So how do you do that? You go to reports, company financials, second section, balance sheet standard, as of today. And what do we have here? We have, and you could cross-reference this afterwards, we have it called an inventory asset right over here for $140. Why is that inventory $140? Because we have 70 TLSs at the cost of at the value of $2, right? The value is what we bought it for, not what we plan to sell it. And that's also the double entry, right? If the debit for, let's say, if the credit that we owe, Makari's farm is $100. The equity that we have left over from that 20 we put in is another $40, right? Here, look at this at the bottom. They threw that into opening balance equity. That was those 30 on hand TLSs that we put in. And so we have 140. A second here. Okay, so we have 140 inventory, right? 70 times 2. And when we're going to sell now to Gabai, we're going to have even less inventory because it's going to go out. And after we complete step number 6, we'll go back to the profit and loss and analyze how the cost of goods show up on the expense. As I said, the expense right now we have in the profit and loss is only $20. That should be the only thing, because that's all we sold. And let's take this here, this fiscal year, we have a cost of goods of $20, right? $20 because we sold 10 of them. It costed us 20. We made 100. So our profit, if you look at merchandise, right? Income is $100. Our cost is 20. Our profit will effectively be $80 extra. And we'll look at debits and credits later. We're not going to get confused right now. We are about to go to step number 6, which will be to sell. And in this case, we're going to make an invoice. Okay. So I'll mark the future reference for Rabbi Cohen. We made a sales receipt. And for Gabe Shamir Adas, we're making an invoice. We're making an invoice because potentially he's buying 25, he's taking a risk. He's not paying, by the way, he's not going to be paying $10. You noticed we're going to have to overwrite an $8.50 because he wants to make some money. He's pushing the sales till 2, 3 in the morning. He'll be up. Erev Shavuos is trying to sell it, and he wants a discount for buying a whole case. In addition to that, Gabai also, that's another reason why we're making an invoice. He's doing HK. He needs to clean up the shul. He has to prepare the mezainis and the drinks, people that are coming to learn Tikkun Shavuos, and he wants 7 hours of general consulting because he wants to get his act together, how to make it, everything, making it more presentable and neater and what have you, how to navigate the COVID restrictions for 10% to 25% capacity or whatever is going on in the Borough Park zone. Let's figure out what we have here now. We have on 525, okay, let me get ahead of it. Let me see again. Oh, where are we here? If I could get a little raise the hand. I see a bunch of questions. I don't know if these hands are still up from before. Yeah, I just lowered all the hands just to see again. Raise the hands if you enter the purchase from Karasfara. And afterwards, if I see still hands, I'm gonna take a couple questions. But I see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I lowered all the hands. And now raise the hands if you still weren't able to get even to step 4, if you didn't even enter TLS. Okay, so it seems like most of us have entered the TLS. About half of us got through to step 5. I guess maybe some people still in the middle of step number 4 in after the sales receipt or receiving payment. Okay, so I'm going to do step number 6, which is just making an invoice for Shemer, for the Gabbai. We're not even billing him. We're not even collecting the money yet. I'm going to create the invoice, and then I'm going to start taking some questions from people. Possibly, we will do step number 1 of part 2, which is creating a new inventory item. So stick around, don't disappear. And regardless, you might have questions, or you might have answers to questions that you don't really realize are questions. Okay. Okay, I did not yet do step number 6. So the answer to that question is that we're going to do it now. How do we, a person who asked, how do we do the balance sheet? We go to reports, drop down company, and the second section is balance sheets. So I keep it open, you'll see, go to company financial, the balance sheet, and you have to select, by automatically you'll get today's date on the balance sheet, which that's just a snapshot. What is the company worth today? Okay. There's no such thing as inventory expense. Answer to that question. Inventory is an asset. So you'll have to stick around after 9:30 and see what to do to resolve that. Okay. So that answers that question. We answered about changing due dates. That's in the preferences, which we'll get to when we do customizations. I'm not sure who has a time zone of 11:54 p.m. It's not even like on the hour. I'm not sure how that works. Again, Rabbi Yisai, what is the difference between an invoice and a sales receipt? An invoice is that someone comes and picks up items and he charges the account and does not pay. So we mail him or we email him or we serve him papers with his invoice and we expect the money to come, at which point we will receive the payment. A sales receipt means someone walked by our cash register and dropped money for what he's taking out. That's a sale, a sales receipt. And that's why giving it's not just you made a sale, it's a receipt. You're giving a receipt of a sale. So the question, he didn't pay for it. Of course he did. As you make a sales receipt for $100, you have $100. We didn't go through the step of receiving 100 because that is hainu hach, as they say. It's the exact same thing. We receive money and let merchandise go at the same time. If you go to banking and make deposits, you will see two deposits for Rabbi Cohen. One is the $100 that came off a sales receipt, and that was a cash right over here, receipt for Rabbi Cohen. That comes from receipt, right? Just like I said, 5-ish Gluck and Holzklopper. These were all the sales receipts we made, 1, 2, and 3 in that order. But Rabbi Cohen payment, that is receiving $200 on his previous invoice. So again, we have 5-ish Gluck from last year, 12/28, 2019. We have Rabbi Cohen who bought the $100 to sales receipt also. This is 5/25. Barry Schultz Klapper, that was already 2 weeks ago. We did him. And we received the payment today on Rabbi Cohen's thing. So that should answer adequately that last question. Let's go back to the Q&A here. That's for sure. The only way to have an asset of 200 is to have 100 in stock. So either you added 100 when you bought it from Karas Farm, so instead of writing 50, or you possibly put in 60 instead of on hand. You put in 60 and you sold 10, and that's why you still have 50 and 50. You could look at it at 9:30. Okay. So back to our Control I. Control I will do will create an invoice. Control invoice. I'm going to put in Gabay. So obviously there is no Gabay. So we're going to put in Gabay Rabbi, for lack of a better Gabay Rabbi. And See, Gaba is not on the customer job list. The assumption is that it's when you do quick add, it doesn't ask you if you're if you're creating a name for a customer because we are in customer. And right here, it shows Intuit service invoice as the template. We will change this now to, where is here? Service to product invoice. We're going from service to product. Okay. And we'll put in here how many, 25. So put number 25 and put in TLS. And it says here, so originally when we put the 25, it didn't have the, see, this is the different. When we ordered TLS, first we purchased TLS and it showed us how much we had the window. And we put in 50. Here, we put in first the quantity of 25. We put in TLS. If you look here, it tells us we do have 70 to sell, so we're good to go. We could always double check the invoice. If you would put in 75 TLS, you would right away get a notice saying you have no sufficient quantity. You can't sell 75 because you only have 70, right? So this is showing you how this track, you can have a back order if you want, but this shows us how setting up the inventory and the preferences really helps us keep our customers happy. So let's go back. We have 25 TLS at not $10. We are overriding it to $8.50. But don't exit yet. We still have two more entries to make. We're doing 5 HK. So tabbed. QuickBooks can make custom pricing for different people. We can set it up. We'll do that at a different time. Right, so you can have the same item for TLS. We don't have to override it. We'll know by this customer, it's one price. Another customer, it's another price. With 5 HK and 7 GC. So again, I'm going to wait here and make sure you have this. 25 TLS for 850, 5 HK for 20, 7 GC for a total of 700. Look at end of step 6. I wrote 10, 12, 50. That should be the price of our invoice. And we have it right here. On the bottom, it shows us our invoice will be 10, 12, 50. And we wrote off total 11, 12, 50 additional income for 525. That is because we sold another $100 to Rabbi Cohen. Now, if you remember back to the previous class of accrual and cash sales, in the cash method, today we made only $100 because the 10, 12, 50 is on, we don't have it yet. It's not here. If today was the last day of the year, we don't want to pay taxes on the $1,000 we never received. But in the accrual method, we will have made $1,100. And perhaps I do want to recognize $1,000 of income because I also had a $4,000 expense write-off on something else. So you're ahead of the game. Okay, I'm about to press save and close and take questions for these 6 steps, which we did today. Okay, again, if you entered everything properly, it matches up. Unless, of course, you didn't correct $10 to $8.50, but if you put the 25 at $8.50, the 5 HK, the 7 GC, leave as is, the invoice will be proper amount. Hello?
Yes, hello. Okay, I'm sorry, but I missed out the beginning and therefore I could not follow the whole class. Could you tell me again, if I go to edit by the first step, edit, preference, and then where do you go?
Well, what does it say in the first step?
It says enable inventory tracking in edit, preference, and inventory.
Oh, so that's the key word you must add. Edit, preferences,
Yeah.
And in preferences, you have items and inventory.
Okay,
There's
so when I go
item-
there, it tells
Yeah.
me there are no personal preferences for,
Then you have to go to company preferences
oh, okay, fine.
tab,
And
and you check the box.
then what do I check?
You check, there's only this box, just the first box. Inventory and
Inventory
purchase
and
orders are active.
purchase?
Yeah,
Okay,
inventory.
fine. And then,
And you press OK. Once you
then-
do that, then you could create the inventory items. That's when you'll have already vendors, not only the enter and pay bills, you also have items and receive items, because this whole section here to create purchase orders, to receive items, and is not available until you enable the inventory.
right, okay,
Then
but then
you
it
get
tells
another
me
thing,
now,
inventory activities. It's another thing you get.
it tells me the warning, QuickBooks must close all its open windows.
Yeah. So close it.
So
And
what
then
do I close? Everything?
it's going to do it by itself. Press OK. Then you.
I press OK? Okay, fine.
Now, to answer those people who wanted to adjust,
Tells me you
Okay.
have not recorded the new transaction. So I say yes.
which transaction?
I don't know. It tells me QuickBooks did not find TLS. I was trying to do things on my own, but I don't know what
Right.
it's doing.
Okay, so clear it out and start again. Do step 2, create a TLS. We had people who asked, what happens if you did not do the on hand quantity? So in the earlier versions of QuickBooks, it was not available. You had to get around it through the back door through debits and credits, debiting the inventory, crediting equity, it's things like that. But now, if you go to vendors, drop down inventory activities, it lets you adjust quantity and value on hand, either the quantity and value. So you would go there and you have to pick the adjustment date for which item, right? You have to figure out, again, it's also actually that's the same thing. You have to figure out which item it is you're adjusting the TLS, and you have to tell it we have 2045. You want to go and you want to say that really we have a different quantity. The quantity is really 30 more, or depending on which step you are in. If you don't have any yet, because you didn't do steps you didn't make the purchase, to make a sale. So if the quantity has 0, you could do new quantity will be 30. That's what we're supposed to do. Step number 3, add 30. So this is where you want to add the 30, but you have to make an adjustment account, and you might want to choose here the equity account.
Okay, but I'm
believe
still
that's-
up to steps number
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I wasn't talking. I was answering a question from the
right.
couple of
Okay.
people in the Q&A had asked, what do you do? They saved right away the TLS without putting in the amount on hand.
Right. So then step number 2, create inventory item.
Yeah.
Oh, what okay, so how do we do that? Hello?
No? Yeah.
Yeah, step number 2. How do you create an inventory item? How do you do that?
Go to items and lists items.
Again,
Again, a shout out to anyone else who fell behind. We're essentially doing over part of the class now, so don't ask the same question in 3 minutes. If you didn't do step number 2 and 3, right now we're doing over step number 2 and 3. You go to lists, item list, and you don't have TLS. You only have the first 4 service items. So you can go Control N, and you're going to choose inventory part. Inventory part.
okay, I don't know. It keeps on telling me QuickBooks did not find TLS, and I don't know how to get out of it.
Just delete TLS, clear it out.
Okay, how do I do that?
I don't know which screen you're in, but
Cancel.
you have to cancel, close the window, start again.
Okay, fine. So now what's the step number 2? You go to lists and then item list.
List,
then-
items, item list, then they'll Control N for new.
Control N, yes.
And you're doing a new inventory part.
So non-inventory?
Inventory. The whole thing we're doing now is inventory.
I know, but I don't see any such a thing. It tells me service, non-inventory, Other,
No, then you didn't enable the thing. It didn't close for it. Go back to your edit preferences because you had a block before it's something else. Go to edit preferences,
right,
accounting,
yeah,
company preferences.
right,
Oh, I'm sorry, not what accounting. I'm sorry, edit preferences, inventory, items in inventory, company preferences, and check the box. It didn't
items
save
of
it.
inventory.
It didn't
Right.
save it before because you had an issue.
Okay, but now when I try to check that box, it tells me you may not change this preference while adding or editing an item.
Okay, so go close the other window. Again, that's why we start the class by enabling an item first.
Which
So if
window? I don't even see what's open.
you started creating an item, non-inventory item, so close out that window. Do like this, X out all your windows, besides not the software one. X out you have the option called window close all. Close all your windows.
Okay, it's telling me, do you want to exit QuickBooks? I don't want to do.
No, don't exit the big one on top right. There's a small X underneath it. And the other option I told you is by going window close all. There's window drop down close all, you close all your windows.
Okay, so now let's start again. So what you go to again, lists, an item list.
No.
No,
You close
so
everything? You close everything?
I think so, yes.
Again, you close everything. You're still by step number one, not step number two. You didn't enable yet the inventory. Edit preferences.
So one second, how do I take out TLS first if I want to just delete?
Wait, you closed all your windows, right?
Right.
Okay. Go right now, edit, preferences, items in inventory.
Okay. And it tells me there are no personal preferences for items and inventory.
Okay, so remember you're going down to company preferences.
Okay, company preferences, okay, and then
Yeah,
that box.
click the
First
box,
box
press
there.
OK.
Okay, and then okay,
Press OK. Now it's going to tell you as to close all your windows.
right,
So
perfect.
let it do that. Now you go back to.
Again, it tells me you have not recorded the new transaction.
You have an open window. You didn't close everything.
I thought I did.
Okay. So figure out how to get out of that window. I'm just gonna take a see. So there's a quick question over here. I'll get back to you. But figure out how to close to get maybe if you can't do it, just close the software and start again. Just open the software, and you got to get past step one to get to step two.
Right.
All right. Okay, Shimon. Does Shimon have a question?
Yes, hello?
Yeah.
Yes, hi. Before step number 6, I had on the balance sheet, $200 for the inventory assets.
Okay, so let's do it this way. Go to lists, item list, and TLS. How much you have in stock?
45.
You had 45
Now I have 45, yeah.
before after step 6. Yeah, it's 45.
Now I have 45.
Okay, what's your balance sheet now? How much is the inventory now?
And let me pull it up. Now it says inventory asset $90.
Good, it's perfect. $2 times 45 is the asset is your cost.
Some reason before I had different than you, I guess. Okay.
I don't know what was before, but I'm happy to
Okay.
hear that.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, fine. Okay. Okay. Salman has a question. Hello? I don't know if it's my mic or your mic, but I don't hear. Okay, I guess if someone will have a question, please raise your hand again because I don't hear you coming through here. I think I have. Hello.
Hi, sorry. Yeah,
You have two devices you logged into.
yeah, no, my computer doesn't, I don't know where the mic is, so I just logged into my phone so you could hear me. Okay,
Yeah.
basically, when I go to the balance sheet, your inventory asset said, I don't remember what it said. It said like 120, but mine was 200, but now mine says 150.
My inventory right now is $90.
Right, so mine says 150. So what did I do? How do I
So
change
double
that?
click on it. Double click and see what was it. What are the debits and credits? We know the inventory went up 60 because I threw in the on hand. That's why I don't make a million entries. I put like 2, 3 to get the idea. Like this, you could troubleshoot. We put in $60 on hand.
Yeah, that
We took out 20. We took out 20 worth because we made a sale of 10 of them.
Okay, I
And
have
then we bought 100 and we sold $50 worth to Gabe. So what do you have different?
I have an extra 60. Basically, it says debit 60, balance 60, then it says debit 60, credit 20. I don't know. I'm really confused.
Okay. Yeah, you have two debits for 60 and one for 100.
I have 2 debits for 60 and 1 for 100. Yeah, totaling 220.
Okay. What are the first? They're both inventory adjustments.
Yeah.
Do you have two TLS items?
I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, I have TS.
You created TLS twice.
Yeah, but I deleted it because I did it wrong.
So you
Okay.
went,
So I
so you went through step two twice, but you left the inventory, or maybe you disabled that. You deactivated the item, but you still left it inside.
Yeah. So how do I get rid of that?
Yeah, imagine if you double click on it and just adjust. Right now, I wrote that we had the first time. Essentially, when we did the first entry and we added 30, what it did was is as if it made an adjustment. It said 30, meaning
Right.
before it was 0, we added 30, and the value is 60, and the adjustment account is opening balance equity. That's the default.
Right.
So if you would go into one that I'm just clear one that I'm at the 0. That's what I would do, just to
Okay.
get the numbers to match.
So save and close.
Just double click both of them. They're both debiting opening balance equity. If you go on your balance sheet, opening balance equity at the bottom was 120.
1 second, I'm opening it. Where are you looking?
On the balance sheet, 2 lines from the bottom, it says opening balance equity, 60 or 120.
120.
Yeah, good, fine. Because so just go inside, double click, so you can even access it from here, from double clicking on the opening balance equity inventory because they're tied out. See, assets go up, equity goes up. So
Yeah,
the
but
same
not
double click on it. You can double click on it, either one of the 60s. You're gonna get the same place because the one affected the other.
right. But even when I change it to 0, it doesn't let me save it.
Why not?
I don't know. It says, I'll tell you what it says. It says, go ahead, do you want to record your changes? You cannot record a blank transaction. Fill in the appropriate fields.
I have a better if you go edit and delete inventory adjust. It's as if you went into anything that you went into a check or to a bill and you delete it.
Okay, now let me check.
Or void it, you delete it, you void it, whatever you want to do. It'll
Okay,
get rid of the whole thing.
So let me just check if I'm up to you. So your inventory asset is $90.
Oh, so you did that? Oh, you deleted that one?
Yeah. So now
Good.
is
So
that
back
what
to
it's
90 and your equity is down to 60. Your equity is
Yeah.
down to 60.
Let me check
Because
that.
either assets go up, either liabilities go up or equity goes up, one of the two. It goes
Okay,
down, they have a direct relationship.
okay, perfect. So it's good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna.
Okay. Oh, stick around. We might do step 1 of part 2. Okay, where's this here? Um, so in answer again to the question, if you cooked okay before you put it on, how do you change it? So we just explained, you're gonna go to vendors and inventory activities, drop down, and in the inventory drop down, there's just the quantity at hand. Again, vendors, inventory activities, adjust quantity at hand, and we'll put in the adjustment account called opening balance equity, OP. It's going to come up opening balance equity, and you will put in, it should look not what mine has, but you're going to put in what was really, you're going to put in the TLS item TLS. And you're going to, right now, I happen to have 45. Odds are yours says 0 or it says different amount, and you're going to have to make it 30 higher. That's what you're going to be doing. But by adding 30 above what's on your quantity at hand, you will compensate for not adding it in earlier on that item. Okay. Let's see who else has a question here. Mr. Goldberg. Ms. Goldberg is on the air. Okay, so it seems like your mic is not working. So when you get the mic to work, you'll. Does anyone else have any questions here? Okay, 1 second here.
Yes, okay. So can we continue with step 2? I'm sorry.
Okay, so what do you need to do in step 2?
So create inventory item TLS.
Okay, so you saw you in the list, so you went to items.
Okay,
You
so
went control N.
list, 1 second, list and item list, and then control.
And control N, which is new. Not, do you see now inventory part?
It tells me new item. And
The drop down, do you see inventory part?
inventory part. Oh, I see type of service type.
Type service.
Oh, that's what you are. Okay.
Service.
Part. Okay. Yes.
Baruch Hashem. If you click inventory part, it'll tell you goods you purchase, you track, and you resell.
Right.
Good. So now here's where you enter the information. You take it out of, step 2 is you get after that TLS by item.
Okay. So you put in TLS and then.
Yeah. And then you're going to put a description. You're going to type in what says in the brackets, tikkun lo shavuos.
And where do you put?
You put it by description.
Okay, on the bottom. Okay.
You put on both sides, on description purchase, description sales.
Okay.
After you did that, you're going to,
The cost is
you have
$2.
to put the cost as $2.
Okay.
You're going to overwrite the 0 and put a 2. On the sales price, you're going to put a 1 before the 0, so you have 10. And you're going to create an income account called merchandise. Yeah.
I'm
So you
looking
just
for
write
it.
by income, you're gonna write the word merchandise and you're gonna press tab and it's gonna say does
Oh,
not exist. You
write
create
it and I'm busy looking for it. Okay.
No. You only had one income account called sales.
Okay,
And
so
now we're
now,
gonna have another one called merchandise.
okay,
Eventually, we're gonna change sales to service. So we're gonna have two income accounts, one called service, one called merchandise. But that's,
okay.
you know,
And then,
and then what? So where are we holding?
okay,
So
so I
yeah,
put in merchandise.
so now that you have TLS, and now that you have 2 and 10, and now that you created merchandise, what's left? You gotta go down to on hand and put in 30. And because you put the cost as 2 already, it's automatically gonna calculate the total value as 60.
Tells me merchandise is not in the account list. So
Okay, so could you set it up? Yeah,
set up, okay, and then what do I put in? Merchandise and
it's there already. You can put a description, but we just
just
press
save and
okay.
close, save and close. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. And then on hand, we do what?
You put a 3 before the 0, so now you have 30.
Okay, right,
Total value will automatically adjust to 60,
okay,
and change the date to 5/25.
okay. All right,
Okay, so now, what's it called? Before you look at my screen a second. So you have here TLS filled in, you have $2 filled in, you have $10, you have merchandise. My on hand it's not going to match yours because we make transactions. That's why you can't edit it here anymore. You can't just, it doesn't give you the options because we moved on,
okay,
right? You won't get this the first shot. Otherwise, you got to make adjustments. But you have on hand, you put 30, the cost is 6, whatever. Press OK.
okay.
Okay, so now you could go into step 4. You do it in 2 parts. You're going to make a sales receipt for Rabbi Cohen for 10
One second.
TLS.
One second, I'm still trying to fix the date. It wasn't
Okay,
going. One
you work
second.
on the date. I'm going to pull another question. I'll get back to you. So,
Okay,
Yeah,
hello?
hello?
Yeah.
The step number 3 that we did, the 30 TLS that we opened the balance,
Mhm.
that didn't cost us anything? I'm saying there's no,
The equity went up. The company had it. We didn't put.
oh, we had it. We didn't buy it
Yeah.
from someone else.
No. That's why we saw equity goes up. See, if the assets goes up, either your liabilities go up. Like I bought Makaris Farms. Now I got the inventory, but I owe Makaris Farm money. In this case, the first case, we had it. So I'm writing equity goes up, and we went through the balance sheet. You'll see, if you have 140 or now 90 on your balance sheet, whatever your inventory asset is, your equity is still there. Then it doesn't disappear. Got it?
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah, the inventory is 90 because you have 45. Okay, no problem. If you have another question, raise it again.
perfect.
Okay, as Ms. Goldberg, is
Yes,
your
are
mic
you
working
hearing
now?
me now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now, yeah.
All right, my question is about the software itself. Every time I come in, it tells me that I have so many days left to the trial. Should I be purchasing? Should I be doing something month by month?
When you installed it, you had a license, right?
Yeah, it's a temporary license for so many
Right.
days. It's a
But
trial.
no, that's for 30 days before if you activate it, then you should get 5 months.
It gave me several months. I don't know. So if I
Of-
activate it, I have to pay them.
No. Yeah, you're activating the student license. I believe you get 5 months. If you did it right away, you get 5 months. I think you could squeeze out another month if you activated it after 3 weeks. That's assuming you installed it properly, not the trial software, but with the student link.
I'm not
Was the
sure
link-
what I did it with a link you gave me, and it's
Huh?
telling me I have, I think, 11 days.
Goldberg? Go with Goldberg?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I know. So you were you were the one that emailed you like the latest on the student list, like you weren't getting the first emails.
That's right.
So I don't know. I guess it would be confirm that you actually got the student license, the right student license, as opposed to trial for 30 days. But in general, you usually, even if you stole it and then it wants to activate it, you get 5 months, which is more than enough to do a course.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if that doesn't happen, then what do I do?
You probably have to download again and install. If you go to manage my license, what does it tell you?
Let me take a look at manage my license.
Help and manage your license.
Yeah, 1 second. I have to switch screens here.
Or
Let me get in there. Too many things open. Okay, so I'm going to help.
Mhm.
Here's the manage
Yeah.
my license. About QuickBooks, it has to be down at the bottom. It's Dama about.
And then before,
Um,
what is it?
See, license number, product number, user license.
Do you have like do you have a thing called register QuickBooks or something like that? Because my thing is that's I have to guess what's on your end.
Let me look again and see what we have here.
Read out what you have, the ones you have there.
Okay, QuickBook Desktop help, ask
Yeah.
Intuit new features,
Yeah.
find the local experts, send feedback,
Yeah.
Tool Hub, internet
Okay,
connection,
go to
new
the next
business,
item. You go after your end guide. The next one.
after year-end guide, manage my QuickBooks account,
Yeah.
add QuickBooks services, App Center, activate QuickBooks Desktop.
Oh, there you
update.
go. Activate QuickBooks Desktop. Activate.
So I need to activate it.
You press activate and then see what it tells you.
I have 9 days remaining. This is a student trial
Okay, so
edition.
student trial. So you got the right trial. You got it. You got the student. Activate it now. Unless you want, if you really want an extra 8 days, you can do it. But activate it now. You don't need it for 5 months.
No.
You have 5 more
okay.
months.
Here we go. So
Okay.
let's see what happens. It
Yeah.
may restart. Okay. Sign into my account to activate it. Email or user ID. I don't know if I created an account. I have to look at my see what happens.
Okay.
But
You keep
all right.
it posted.
It'll be okay.
Yeah,
Thank you so
that's
much.
fine. You're welcome. Okay. Okay. Hello. Hello.
Yes, hello.
Yeah. Back to you.
Okay, fine. So, okay, so we got that step and then the,
Did you make a sales receipt for every colon for 10 TLS?
no, I don't think so. I didn't do anything. I looked at the beginning and I didn't know what to do next. So add the
Rabbi Cohen buys 10 to go customers, enter sales receipt.
customers, enter sales receipt, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
go
you
to
put,
Rabbi
and you put,
Cohen.
you put R Rabbi Cohen, you put in 10 TLS.
Okay. By item, you put what? TLS?
T, just put a T. It's going to fill in. You only have one item. Item is T. It's
I
going to
put
put
in
the
10 by mistake and I can't, 1 second, I can't get this out. 1 minute.
10's fine. That's what you sell yours. Oh.
By item, you want 10? No, you want.
No, but item you put a T. Put a T. It's going to fill in automatically. You also have a drop down menu in case you're not sure what you have.
Okay, right. Okay, it does.
Yeah.
And then what else?
Then quantity is 10. See, right away when you did TLS, it put the rate as 10 and the amount as you
Right.
put 10, it's going to go to 100.
Right. So
Again, your date should be 5/25 because that's the last date we made when we adjusted the inventory. So keeps that date.
right. So it says that 525.
Yeah.
And we have
Yeah, save
10,
and close.
rate 10, amount 10.
No, about 100.
I'm sorry?
The quantity is 10, the amount
Yeah.
is 100.
I don't know. It's not changing it. It's
Oh, press tab. You got to get out of that. Press tab. You didn't finalize that field yet.
okay, fine. All right. And then save and close.
So close. Yeah, good. Yeah.
Okay.
After that, you go back to customer center, Rabbi Cohen, you right click his
And
name.
it tells me
you
check spelling. So then,
ignore everything or close
Close.
the.
okay, fine.
Go to customer center, Rabbi Cohen. And you right click, he has $200 balance, so you receive his payment.
1 second, 1 second. So you go where to Rabbi,
Rabbi Cohen, he has open balance $200, right?
right?
You right click and you receive his payment.
You right click and where do you go to?
You receive payments, the fourth section, the long section. You have receive payment.
Okay, fine, yeah. Receive payment.
And he has you click the invoice in the bottom, which is $200 left. And you change the date back to 11/25 because we're dealing with an invoice that happened in November. So you could put a T for today. That's what we said also. You put a T, it changes the date to today.
It's November 25.
Mhm.
1 second. How do you change the date?
Again, you click the mouse in the date box and you press T, and T brings you to today date.
Okay, fine. Okay, and then,
She had to activate. Yeah.
okay, so 1 second. I don't,
No, it's first time. That person, so they didn't activate the software yet. That's why. The one
The
I
only
told
thing
didn't activate the software yet. A woman.
the only thing I have is like,
Tony. Yeah.
I'm by customer payment. Is that where I should be? Because I see you're by customer information.
No, but I'm out of there. You don't look at me. I walked you through. Right click, receive
Oh, okay.
payment.
So
No,
customer
I can't
payment,
receive. Again, I can't receive the payment because I already received it. So there's nothing left.
okay, right. So what do I do by customer payment?
Click the invoice in
Change
the
the
bottom.
date. I change the date and then,
You clicked the invoice, which shows $200 left.
wait 1 second.
On the bottom, when you go to you right click, receive payment. So you're Rabbi Cohen. On the bottom, it shows in the window an invoice with $200 open.
Okay, 1 second. Can you show it to me by you? Because I don't see what you're talking about.
When you would have been in customer payment, you would see such a
Right.
thing. A date
Right.
11/4, 600,
Right.
amount
I
due
have
200.
11.5.
So
I
you
have,
click what?
oh, that's what you mean. I have 11.5. Okay, you click here. I see what,
Okay, 11/4, 11/5. You did it the next day, whatever it is.
okay, fine.
So you click it. It's gonna put the payment amount to 200. You save and close, and
Okay,
done.
okay. All right.
Now you got to work on step number 5. Okay.
What is that? Purchase?
So, see, anyone else have a question here? Okay, so also, if I don't know if you have, if you're in the office stuff, they'll send you a link. You can also watch the whole, that part of the video and see how to do it.
So can we do number 5?
Okay, I'll walk you through number 5, but in general, I can't redo the whole class from beginning to end
Right.
in the same class. So I give a class, and then I could troubleshoot some questions, and then you can watch a class. But next time, if you go to vendors,
Yeah,
receive items and enter bill. Vendors, receive items and enter bill.
okay.
So you're gonna type in the company called Makaris Farm, and you're gonna
By
put
where?
in.
By vendor? By vendor?
Yeah, we just said it's the vendors.
Okay, yeah,
Receive
okay.
items and enter bill.
Okay, so I did that, Makaris Farim, and then,
You type Makaris Farm and you save the vendor. You go down to the item afterwards over here, and you're gonna press TLS, and it's gonna already put in the cost as $2. And when you're gonna adjust the quantity to 50, because you're buying 50, it's gonna make your bill to 100.
so the quantity is 50, you're saying? Okay,
That's what step 5 says. You're purchasing 50.
50, and then I press what after I put in 50?
You see that it says the cost is $2, the amount is 100.
No, it says the cost is $2 and the amount is $2.
No, because you didn't go again. You got to get out. You put 50, press tab. Until you get out of that square, it's not
Okay,
final.
okay, so now it says 100.
Yeah, save and close. Oh, your
Oh.
date is what? Also 525.
My date
Go back to
is
520. Go back to
525. Okay,
yeah,
fine. So,
525.
okay.
If your date hits 525, so I don't know if maybe you received the payment, but you also left it at 525. The last payment was 1125. It doesn't make much of a difference.
Okay,
Just,
so save and close. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
saving and closing. Okay,
Yeah, good. Now you do step 6.
and and what was that?
That's straightforward. Control I is you're creating an invoice, and you just put in, follow the instructions. It's self-explanatory. Does anyone else have any questions out there? Just to
So I have to put by step number 6, I have to put in the Gabay as a customer.
yeah,
Okay, so add new.
yeah, yeah. The same thing you did before. You'll overwrite you'll adjust the amount because he's not paying. He's paying only 850, and you'll put the other items aside.
Okay, one second. Where is he only paying 850? Oh, I see. Instead of the price of 10, you're putting 850.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll be starting part 2 next class. And since we already enabled inventory tracking, all we have to do is start off with creating an item called MR. And we already know the cost will be $1 and the sales price will be $3. And there will be nothing on hand. We're gonna just create the item. So again, if we could start next class, in position, either you could create it or be ready to create. We're going to open up with a screen ready to create the MR item.
And on the same invoice, that's where you put in also the 5 HK and the 7 GC.
Yeah, everything. And I put the total. Your invoice has to match that total. Doesn't
Okay,
match
but-
total, 10, 12, 50. If it doesn't match, review your entries.
One sec. Okay, now I got as a total 10, 12, 50. But you have 11, 12, 50.
No, I have 10, 12, 50.
So why
Look
does
at
it
the
say on
bracket.
the bottom of this sheet?
What does it say in step 6? What did it say in step 6?
Yeah, it says 10, 12, 50, but bottom, you say total 11,1250
Okay, let's see if you can get the answer.
for 525. No, I don't know. So what is the answer? I don't know.
What did you do in step 4?
Oh, I hear. Okay, that's what it is. Okay. I hear. Okay, fine.
Okay. Yeah.